Okay, before you guys start, I'm old school, my old lady, so I wanted to do a Kahoot. So please take out your phones and register for the Kahoot for me. I'm an old lady, that's what I know, okay? Thank you.
I still use Kahoot.
I didn't know, I have been in school a long time. At the end, right. Okay.
I'll be lost, okay. You can go do maybe next things at once.
I think so.
We have it. So, good morning. Welcome to the 2023 College Business Leadership Conference. My name is Tina Williams, and I'm a teaching instructor in the Department of Management. And it is my pleasure to introduce your speakers for today, this session. Laquan Lucas Harris, and I'm here as Laquan Lucas, so I had to make sure I got that last name on there, is one of our alumni. She did both her BSBA here along with her MBA, and she also pursued her MSA afterwards. So, got some education there. She is the Vice President Credit Officer at First Bank, and that is in the Wake County area. Okay. And then her co-presenter today is Kirsten Foyles, who went to the University of Wisconsin at Madison and did a degree in econ, which not my bag, but she seems to like it. And then she did her law degree. She's a JD. She did that at the University of Louisville in Kentucky. Sorry, I didn't write that down. And she is in-house counsel for First Bank, and they are here. They're going to put on a great presentation for y'all today. And one last thing, I will remind you before you leave, we have a survey that we would like for y'all to complete at the end of the conference, just real short. We've got QR codes you can take a shot of. So if y'all would do that when we finish, we'd appreciate it. And I want to turn the floor over to our lovely presenters.
So before we go with the Kahoot, I do have some prizes at the end for whoever the top 3 people is.
Really good prizes
Really
too,
good
not just
prizes.
pens.
I'm just saying, something that's useful, not just some stuff to throw on the counter. Some useful things, okay? So we're gonna do some icebreakers just to make sure everybody's good with the Kahoot. So here's my first Kahoot here. Y'all ready? Okay. On a Saturday night after Pyron and I yell purple, what response should I hear? I feel like this should be an easy no-brainer.
Even I know this one.
Really?
And I didn't go here.
And she,
I've been trained though.
She ran through the question to me. She was like, okay, am I supposed to know this answer? And I'm like, yes. Okay, we got like 2 more seconds here. Let's see. See, everyone got it right. See, they know what's what. Okay. Oh, who is not a pirate? I ain't gonna. One of y'all didn't answer right. I'm not gonna say. It's gonna be okay. All right, this is gonna be my second one. Then I'm gonna leave it alone. But I just had to throw this in because I'm a pirate through and through.
So I shouldn't do this, is that what you're telling me?
Please don't do that. And wait, look. That doesn't end very well. You pick up my light work and got it. Alright, I was just making sure because we won't do that. As you can see, me and Kirsten are very friendly with each other. We work together and we're both on the DEI council and we interact very well together. Wonderful. See, they all got out one.
They did, I didn't.
Okay, so this is our leaderboard. Whoever Sean is winning. Whoever that person is, I don't know who that is. But good job. We have time for other questions to win. So we're going to start today with communicating the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I know we hear a lot about it today. Ever since George Floyd, you hear it more and more from different people. So what we want to know is, what exactly is DEI? A lot of times people don't really all the way know what the D, the E, and the I stand for. So I'll give you a quick Kahoot, and then we'll talk about what DEI actually stands for. You have to read, right? I thought you were a college kid, you would read, right? I always thought that's what your niche.
You agree all the way though.
Look at that, look at that. We got some people. Okay, so. So actually, when you think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, We'll look and see what scoreboard says. It's basically a term used to discuss policies and programs that promote the representation of different groups of individuals. Like, as I look out in the audience, it's a variety of different groups and people that are around us. The actual definitions of diversity, equity, inclusions, varies depending on the organization that you work for. You know what I'm saying? Because the bank's definition of DEI might be totally different from the ECU College of Business definition of DEI. But basically, it's a representation of, diversity is a representation of individuals with many different qualities within a group. So when you think about that, like, what are some differences that, you think about when you think about diversity? So, anything? Racial, yeah, that's good. All right, lady in the orange and the pink, I see you. Religious, good idea. Yes, ma'am. Gender identity. Those are all, it's so many different things that you can consider: social orientation, race, gender, age. I'm an older American, so I know the age diversity hump because I'm a little bit older. Then we have equity.
So equity, and this is a very common misunderstanding, and you saw in the Kahoot that some people thought that DEI stood for diversity, equality, and inclusion versus equity. So what is the difference? Does anybody, yes?
More about equity is more about addressing the problems that are facing barriers facing the business system instead of equality, which basically means equality for all, but that doesn't mean it's equal for everyone, because for like myself, I'm disabled, so like if they reasonably equal, it may not be accessible to a community that should be.
Exactly. I could not have said it better. That was an excellent definition. I know you've all seen some different visuals of it, but one that I love is you have 3 different kinds of plants, and if you give them all the same amount of water, a succulent is going to die. Fern will be happy, and then the medium one, it'll be okay, but it won't thrive. If you give each plant the water it needs to be successful, they'll all thrive. So that's how I like to think about equity versus equality.
Inclusion, I just added the word belonging because you want to feel like you belong in an organization, but not just belong in an organization, you want to be your authentic self. I'll give you an example. Me personally, as an African American woman, when I first came out of college, I was told that I couldn't have my hair natural. It had to be straight. At the first bank that I went to work for, it had to be straight. I also, as a pirate, I used to like to wear my hair bright red. So when I graduated and went to interview for jobs, I literally would have to put a wig on to interview for a job because I couldn't be my authentic self because that was not accepted. And when I took the job at the first bank that I went to work for, and I went in and he hired me and everything, and I said, well, what's the dress code? And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, what's the dress code? And then he was like, oh, what you have on is fine. I was like, well, what's the hair code? And mind you, this was an older Caucasian man, and he was looking at me very confused. He just didn't understand, like, what are you asking me? And I was like, well, what's the hair code? And he was like, what do you mean the hair code? And so I pulled out my ECU student ID that had my cherry colored red hair and said, this is what my hair looks like. Can I work here? And he was like, no. He was like, you have to dye your hair. So I was able to work there, but I had to change my authentic self to work there. And if you never had to do that, have to be something that you're not all day for 8 hours is very difficult to do. So when you think about inclusion, you want the company that you work for to make you feel like you belong, but want you to belong as who you are and not trying to be something that you're not. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big thing that we see a lot. I've seen a lot in my banking career. So just a true false question, make sure everybody's listening. Quality is the same thing as equity. All right, lady in the pink.
They might have hit the wrong one.
They might have
I just hit the wrong one.
They just hit the wrong one. Okay. She gave you credit. She said you just hit the wrong one. So we have a new leader at the leaderboard, Samaya. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but we got a new leader. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so she spoke about the equity versus equality.
And this is just another visual representation. I'm sure have you all seen this before? Yeah, but it's a great visual just to keep in your head to remind you that, treating everybody exactly the same is not the same as fostering equity.
So I found this cool quote, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Companies that embrace diversity and inclusion in all aspects of their business statistically outperform their peers. Okay, so this leads me into my bank. As when George Floyd passed away in 2020, our bank, I'm gonna speak on Wake County. Wake County, which is a part of my bank is all of North and South Carolina, but I work in the Wake County market. And in the Wake County market, when George Floyd died, we all got together collectively as a group to talk about it, to talk about our feelings. And that's a taboo at work. Like, we don't do that. We don't talk politics. We don't talk racial stuff at work. You just don't do it. And it was just so powerful. We all got together on a Saturday and we sat down, a diverse set of individuals, and it was just an open forum where you could speak freely. You could ask me any question, I could ask you any question, no judgment. We would have an open dialogue. We would leave there as if we were still, cool. I learned a lot from that session. A lot of my counterparts asked us questions like, well, have you experienced this type of, racism? Have you experienced, someone targeting you because of how you look? Like, just different things. Can you give us an example of this? And we went through for about 2 hours, but what I took from it was not only did I tell my counterparts some things that I had experienced as an African American woman, I also got a lot from them that I didn't realize they had. Experiences they had. I have a lot of biases that I didn't even realize that I have because I'm just accustomed to when you say diversity, equity, inclusion, it's just talking about people of color, not people that are not of color. And that's totally not what it should be. So you have to have an open conversation and be willing to listen to your people in order for you to make a change. So after we had this conversation and everyone had some really good dialogue, it went up to the powers that be that maybe we needed to have a diversity, equity, and inclusion department at our bank. And we started working on it. And we're a work in progress. I don't want anyone to think that we have it all together because we don't. We literally are learning on the fly. But the point is we're trying to learn on the fly, and we're learning together, and we're being inclusive of each other, and we're growing together as a bank. So that is one of the things I wanted to kind of just let people know, that companies that embrace diversity and inclusion, everyone performs better when they feel like they belong or they are valued or their opinions count.
And just one thing that you mentioned that I think is really important is you guys are here at a really exciting time. What year was it that you got the job at that first bank?
2007.
So in 2007, and where was I? I was about 10 years out of law school. People wanted to embrace diversity and offer inclusion. No, a lot of people really didn't know how. You didn't see DEI policies then. People weren't aware. You guys are coming in when this is at the forefront, and so you're going to bring in such a great new perspective to these policies as you enter the workforce.
I agree. Perfect time. So some things, if you embrace as a business, if you embrace diversity as a strategic imperative, like I've noted before, you get all these different perspectives, different ideas, which helps your company grow. At the end of the day, your organization wants to know how they're going to make money. It's not enough to say, I need you to do this DEI so you can keep this employee, that employee. They want bottom line figures. How is this going to help my bottom line number? I'll give you a great example from a banking perspective, okay? So from a banking perspective, if I go to my CEO and say, hey, we need to put DEI in the budget. This is why we need to do it. This is how I think it can make us money. This is what I say. This is what I would say to them. So let's say in the Wake County market, the Wake County market is predominantly, is 40% Hispanic in the Wake County market. So if the Wake County market is 40% Hispanic, and we have no diversity representing them in our banks, and we're not calling on them as salespeople to the Hispanic population, think what would happen if we hired some people that were diverse, that look like they were Hispanic. The Hispanic people that were in the community that could go out and speak to them. Think about if we could just get 10% of the 40%. We're not going to get that if we don't have anybody that represents them. You know what I'm saying? So you have to think about it in relates to money sometimes. And it's bad to say it like that, but at the end of the day, each business is just that, they're a business. So they want to know what the bottom line number is. I do believe every business wants to make sure their employees are happy. I do believe they want to do that, but at the end of the day, everybody's about making a dollar. So you need to be able to equate that to actually how you're going to make some money.
Yeah, and in the traditional model was, okay, we do A, B, C, D, E. Well, the more voices you bring to the table, the more perspectives, the more difference in background. Now you have ideas that never came into those traditional models before. Now you can expand out in either direction, and by having those additional voices, you really are reaching so many more people.
And when you have a fairness, when people feel like it's fair and equal when it comes to hiring, whether it's men or women or people of color, you get more people coming in and wanting to make a difference. I don't know about you guys, but when I would look for a job, I look for certain things when I'm searching the company out on LinkedIn. I look for certain things because I know what I want to work for, I know what I want to be around. And if I don't see these things and it doesn't look like it's a good representation of women in management or minorities in management, then that's not a company I'm looking to be around. So those are things you just, a company, if they embrace these things, they can actually go a little further. So I just wanted to reiterate that DEI does add value to the workplace. DEI is for everyone. It's not just for women. It's not just for people with disabilities. It's not just for people of color. DEI is for everyone. There is not a situation where everybody in my bank, at least one person we have something in common with. Everyone has something in common with somebody. I think a lot of times people think, why should we have DEI? You know what I'm saying? We don't even need that in our bank. You know what I'm saying? We treat everybody equally. I hear that all the time. We treat everybody equally. There is no difference. I love you just as much as you love me. You know what I'm saying? We don't need that. We don't need to do that. But in actuality, you know what I'm saying, it's not really that way. So sometimes you have to have a conversation with someone who says to you when they give you a rebuttal that I don't think we need DEI. I don't think that it's for me. I think it's for everybody but me. Like, you're just making an affinity group for them. It doesn't include me. Or you're doing this for them and not me. How does this affect me? You need to stop and listen and find a common ground and talk about DEI. So I have a quick question. You guys are about to try to go get a job. What percentage of job seekers consider diversity a factor when evaluating a potential employer? If you had to guess. Do you guys look for that? Like anyone, like when you're looking online, like some of you, I know you said you were seniors, are you thinking about where you want to work and like what are you looking for when you're researching a company?
So when I recently graduated and I was looking for a position, I'm not so sure look for the gender norms. I look for generational diversity.
Okay.
So, because I think it's important that you can learn from people who are not only older than you, but it is good, like, when you get into the workforce. I'm a new grad, so I really relate to you guys. When you get into the workforce, the generational diversity is going to be a thing. It's really hard to work with people who are 60 years old and you're 22 and you're like, I cannot relate to these people as easy as possible. That is a big jump. So it is really important to consider that type of diversity. Like, how can I approach people who are much more older than me, experienced than me? and still relate to them and have a good workplace relationship.
That still happens when you're in your 40s and they're in their 60s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's generational gaps all
I
through.
think generational diversity is it's a very difficult thing sometimes to
There's
get over. Just
Yeah.
different opinions and everything.
It's I think for me, I do work with a lot of in our markets, a lot of younger people. I think because I have a daughter that's just graduated from college, I don't look at it that way. Like I literally look like, okay, that's my kid there, and we're good. You know what I'm saying? I understand what she's saying. I understand that she might need to learn this way versus the old-fashioned way that we teach things.
Yeah.
But that is a very, very good point.
Yeah.
Does anyone else kind of like look around to see?
For representation. If it's, for example, the new description I had, and I chose them because they represent all different kinds of people in the market. With not what they do in the parks, but what they do in media and television, with increasing diversity by age without discrimination. So to me, if I see a wheelchair person before, I see them trying to put the effort in to make me look for a one, but it's worth my time being in it. I'd rather have my voice be included than just being there and just ignoring it.
I love to hear that. That's awesome. I agree with that 100%. I saw someone else put their hand up. Our sales guy.
I think for me, a lot of the big things that I want out of a company is just respect. But you know what I'm saying? I really do want somebody to respect me. Yeah, thanks, Morgan. I just really want to feel like a part of the team, whether it's my age or my race. I think the biggest part of it, it'll allow me to, like you said, feel comfortable and be authentically myself, because if I'm not happy at my job, I'm not going to be producing for the company, then I'm going to be out of a job, and then they're just going to find the next cookie cutter person.
That is a very good point. If you're not happy with your job, you will not perform well. And everyone wants to feel included. You know what I'm saying? That's just, it's just what it is. Everyone wants to feel included. When I was just gonna say a quick thing, when my daughter was she finished high school, she was trying to figure out what she wanted to do with herself, like what major she wanted to take. And she didn't know what she wanted to do. She had an idea, it was crazy, but she had an idea, but she wasn't sure. She said, Mom, I wanna be a forensic scientist. That's what I want to be. I want to be like Abby on NCIS. I don't know if you guys watch that. She was like, I want to be Abby on NCIS. This is what I'm going to do. Her whole life is what she wanted to do. So I am an accounting major. I don't know nothing about science. So I didn't know what to do. So I went on LinkedIn and I looked for women. I specifically looked for women. I Googled women in forensic accounting or forensic science. I looked up women and I looked for women of color. I couldn't find any women of color at all on LinkedIn. But I was able to find a couple women in Wake County that actually had a career in that. I sent out a couple feelers. I talked to this one lady. I was like, hey, if you don't know me, I was like, well, my kid wants to know about your profession. Would you be willing to tell her how the profession is from a woman's perspective doing what you do? And she was like, yes. And those little things, like, it might seem odd right now to you while you're in college, but those little things of, if you know something about your company or something about your major that you feel like can help another person that's similar to you, you should be willing to share that. You know what I'm saying? So she met with us, we had lunch for like 3 hours. She talked to my kid, and my kid was like, I don't want to do that. Like, she after 3 hours of talking to that woman, she was like, I don't want to do that, Mom. She was like, no. But that saved us some time for her going to school taking the wrong thing. But the fact that, I specifically looked for a woman, I looked for a woman of color, couldn't find one. And so now when you talk to my daughter and ask her why she's pursuing what she's pursuing, she will tell you quickly. She was like, I'm a woman of color. And I want it to be known that there are women of color who can get their PhD in chemistry, who does research. I want to be known. I want to be able to help the next set of kids that's coming behind me that needs someone to talk to them about. So, your voice matters, and when you're different, you'd be surprised the number of people who value that. You know what I'm saying? Your voice, your perspective is very important to a lot of different people.
They did pretty good on this.
Oh, y'all did good. Not now. Okay, so these are some numbers that we saw online. 70% of job seekers consider diversity a factor when evaluating an employer. Some other numbers, 80% of millennials are actively engaged by an inclusive environment. So that would go to you, the sales guy, forget your name. I don't want to keep calling you sales guy.
Rodney.
Huh? Rodney. Yeah, that would go to like what Rodney's talking about. Companies are 25% more profitable as a result of properly implementing DEI. There goes to that bottom line number again. Companies want to know how they're going to profit from doing these things. So I just got a quick word cloud here. Unconscious bias. Has everyone heard of that?
Have you guys talked about that in classes? What unconscious biases are? For those who haven't, we know what being prejudiced or biased or something is, but you'd be surprised how many unconscious biases we have. And so, yeah, just kind of throw some up there of what are some unconscious biases. I'll tell you I'm from Wisconsin. People hear my accent, and I guarantee you, I love this. I didn't think I'd find a badger here. But and age, how many of us, there's probably nobody in this room who doesn't either look at somebody older as oh, they're old and stuck in their ways, or somebody younger as they don't know anything yet, they haven't been there.
They haven't been there, done that.
We all have them. So yeah, throw up some, what are some of those biases?
Yeah, judging someone.
And I will tell you, we did a 2-day DEI training, an intensive one, and I actually became aware of an unconscious bias that I held that I had no clue about. And I realized that I had an unconscious bias regarding entitlement. People that I felt, whether it was right or wrong, but that I perceived as, oh, your parents were in all of these circles, and so you got this job because you knew so-and-so, and you did this. I had to acknowledge that, that doesn't mean they didn't work as hard as I did. That was an unconscious bias. So
I tend to, like I said, before this training session that me and her attended, the aha moment for me was we were sitting there going through different biases and different things, and I realized that I didn't consider Caucasian people as diverse. I was like, what is your culture? Like when people ask me what's my culture, I can't name one time I ever asked a person that was non-minority, what's your culture? Because I just assumed, I guess I just assumed we didn't have one. I don't know, I just didn't. And I didn't realize that till we went through the thing. And then one of the examples that our trainer gave us, she was saying that it was some people, and it might even be you, I forget, someone gave the example that people from up north, like in New York, New Jersey, whatever, Caucasian people are like Italian, they're Russian, they're this, that, and the other. So if you come up to them, they're gonna tell you, yeah, my culture is I'm Italian, I'm Russian. But in the South, it's just either you're black, you're white. It's no, you're Russian, you're Italian, you're this, that, the other. I never thought to ask someone what their culture was. Because we were talking about, you should take the time to get to know your coworkers, maybe one coworker a week, and go up to them and say, hey, if you feel comfortable, let's talk about you and how you got to be here, or whatever you want to talk about your culture and stuff.
Well, being a Southerner, a Caucasian, I can tell you what our culture is. I used to use a different word, but I'm just a country girl. And country girl is a culture.
I'm a country girl too, so see now we got something in common. You know what I'm saying? We two girls from the South, we both country girls, but we definitely don't look alike. You know what I'm saying? That would be the difference, you know what I'm saying? So those were things that I didn't realize, different biases that I had. Another one, because you're really pretty, you're gonna get all the jobs. Because you look really nice, they're gonna pick you first. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely say that at my current job now, we have a guy who got hired, and when they told me who he was, and whatnot, I was like, okay. And he even told me, he said that he feels like people think the only reason he got hired is because he knows how to play golf. You know what I'm saying? That's what he said, which I thought was funny. And I was like, I don't know, because I don't play golf, so I didn't think it was a big deal. But the more I talked to him, the more it was a real thing for him. Like, he really feels like they don't take him seriously. They're really biased against him. They just dismiss everything he does because they're like, oh, you only got hired because you play golf. You know what I'm saying? So it's different things that you'd be surprised that different people have biases on.
And those biases, they affect the workplace. So, I won't go through this slide about, there are barriers. We know this, and you can read those. One of the best illustrations that so we did this DEI training for the bank, and then I'm on the board of Presbyterian Association of Musicians, so I just recently did a totally different DEI training with that board, which was fascinating. And she had such a great image. So she had a tree, and she said, we can put up pretty leaves. We can put up leaves that say, we have a DEI policy. We are inclusive. We welcome all. We do this. But unless you are working to change the trunk and the roots as to, how to foster that actual change, the leaves fall off. They're pretty, they're fine, you can talk about them, but they're not going to lead to real change. You've got to go beyond that into the roots of the organization and look and say, okay, where are these unconscious biases guiding our decisions? All right, now we've pinpointed it. How do we change that? And the roots aren't going to change overnight. And one thing we said, we're not where we need to be. We know this, and that's okay. Because you know what, we keep moving forward. And as long as we're moving forward and doing the work to try and change those roots, we're on the right path, and we can't get down about we're not where we want to be, But the barriers are there. But as long as you're looking for that rooted change in culture, not just policy, but the culture of the organization.
And you need that from leadership. Lack of representation at leadership levels,
Yes.
that can also be a very difficult challenge.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically just reiterating that. I thought this was a cool little slide.
We loved it.
I like the bold. I thought it was cute. Overcoming challenges and barriers requires a commitment to continuous improvement, fostering a culture of inclusivity, and implementing effective and diversity and inclusion strategies. So this is just summing up basically how that works. This right here, strategies that a company can use to create an inclusive and diverse workplace. We talked about training. Our company is doing training for the leaders, but just going to different diversity, equity, inclusion training sessions, and then establishing a clear directive on what you want your DEI goals to be. It's not enough to say, oh, we're gonna do a DEI, we're gonna have a DEI council. Okay, well, what are our goals? Okay, how long do we have to implement the goals? And then how are we gonna measure that we have achieved what we want? It's not enough just to put it out there. You have to have a plan, a strategy to make sure that it's implemented correctly. Unbiased hiring practices. I'm gonna tell you like a really quick story. And when I recently, before I came to this bank, when I left my old bank and I was looking for a new job, I put my resume out and I couldn't get anyone to hire me. I had all of this education, all of this experience, no one would hire me. I was like, I just don't understand why I can't get hired, constantly, didn't even get a call back or nothing. So I thought about it, I sat down, did some self-reflecting, and I said, you know what? I bet you that I'm not getting hired because of who I am. And my husband was like, what are you talking about? He was like, they don't know who you are. I was like, they do know who I am. Because if you look at my name is Laquan Lucas Harris. So the hyphenation already tells you I'm a woman. That's first and foremost. You might not know Laquan is a woman, but you know the hyphenation tells you that's a woman that's applying. One strike. They've already made a bias that I'm a woman. And then my name is very ethnic. That's another bias. They already know I am diverse, I'm a minority, I'm a woman. So I was like, I'm already pigeonholed before they even look at my resume. They haven't even looked at it because I'm a woman and I'm a woman of color. So I took my name off my resume. I put my name as L Ian Lucas. My first initial, my middle initial, and my maiden name. I put that same resume out, just changed the name, and I got 20 offers right after that. So when
She just told me this yesterday, and that amazed me. I could not believe.
So when I tell you it's not supposed to matter, but sometimes it does matter. You know what I'm saying? I specifically recognize there's no reason why I shouldn't be getting job offers with as detailed and advanced as my resume is. Changing my name was the sole factor in getting me 20 offers. I had 20 different people try to schedule an interview with me for that reason, just because I changed my name.
I was gonna say, I feel like mine's like kind of the same but opposite, so my name's Grayson, so like most of the time when I put in stuff, like people are like, oh, I was expecting you to be male, like, and so mine's like,
Mm-hmm.
My husband's name is Jody. Same thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like sometimes it's very it's a real thing. You know what I'm saying with the names and stuff. And so I was telling one of my coworkers that when I named my second child, I named her a name that wasn't that you couldn't tell. Her name's Trinity. You don't know if she's African American. You know, it could be a man, could be a woman. I named her Trinity. You know what I'm saying? I named her a neutral name. And it's sad that I had to think about that. I cannot be my authentic self. I had to think about that so my child would have a step ahead so she wouldn't have to experience the same problem that I had to do.
And this is where, you know, and again, scary word, but I'm gonna use it. This is where privilege comes in. When I named my 3 kids, I never once thought of that because I had never experienced that. And, you know, and so the great thing again about your generation, I'm really putting a lot on you guys because I'm really expecting you to change things. But you know, your generation looks at these things differently. And one of the best things I learned at the DEI training was, you know, acknowledge your privilege and use it to change things for those that don't have it in that area. If you are educated, you all are, use that education to help those that didn't have that chance.
We're gonna speed up because
I know, I just noticed that.
I'm like, we're clearly talking too much because we're not to the end yet. So common.
Yeah. This is, I mean, again, we've already talked about most of this, so we don't really need to go through it again, but get your leadership involved. And again, it's that tree. If you don't change the roots, those policies aren't going to help a lot because they're not going to get to the heart of what needs to change in the culture.
And one thing here I wanted to say, failure to define diversity beyond skin color, ethnicity, and gender.
Yes.
That is a biggie. That
That's
is
huge.
one of the main reasons why these strategies fail.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll just quickly go on the IDEI journey. We started in 2020. I've been on the council since 2020. It's been slow, but it's been moving. We've changed some different things. We've added a statement.
They added me. They let me come in 2021.
We did training for all our leaders because we know it has to come from the top down. So we can't teach everyone else until we teach the leaders and change their mindset. We've improved applicant flow of diverse candidates, so we made sure we found that it was a rub in the hiring process, kind of like how I just said. We corrected that. We hire vendors that are minority owned. We also hire women-owned businesses. This picture right here was taken at a Phi Beta Sigma conference. The man in the middle, Mr. Mentor, we didn't hire him. We elected him to our board of directors so we would have a diverse board of directors in Wake County, and he promotes our bank all the time. We do stuff within his organization all the time. We co-hosted this Phi Beta Sigma weekend conference, and we talked to some brothers when they were there. We talked to the brothers and gave them some different insights on things they wanted to talk about. And it was a very good thing. But this represents my Wake County team. Like, these are just some of the people, but we're very diverse. So when I look at a place that I want to work at, I want to see people who look like me. I want to see women. I want to see men. I want to see everyone just getting together. And we're always like this. Like, it looks like we're having fun. We always have fun. We're just like a big family. We just are. This quote, you want to read that one? I really like this quote. It's like my favorite one.
We both just fell in love with this quote. So, the roots and positive energy of diversity strengthen and grow beautifully each day. as the aware, accepting, welcoming, kind, and inspired hearts of extraordinary people work to cultivate and encourage it to blossom more and more to change the world. And that there just is not more to it than that.
Yeah.
Every day, you just work to change that.
Do you guys have any questions?
Yes. What can we answer?
What does the DEI training look like? Is it like through conversation, or is it like a seminar or activity?
So the one that we had, we have a facilitator that's in there, and she came in, and it was very open. Like we set the parameters there. It's going to be very open dialogue, different situational things. So they will put us in situations where.
So one of them, I would ask her, I'd say, well, I'm a middle-aged white guy in this bank. What is DEI going to do for me? And you had to, we all have an answer in our head, but when you have to say it.
You have to go back and forth, and she could be the antagonist.
Yep.
And that was the only way we could learn. And so it was very interactive, but it was so emotional. It was like an emotional raw day. Like when we left there, we were all emotionally drained. Like I felt so overwhelmed as a person, and I've never been that way, because it's a lot when you have to consciously think about what you're saying, and you don't want to hurt anyone, and you want to phrase something away as to get what you're trying to get your point across, but not come off as preachy.
Yep.
It's very difficult.
And the other thing that both DEI trainings really do is, again, beyond race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, look at, small town versus big town, young versus old. There's so many ways of having diversity and all of those voices are important, and that's the key to embracing it and saying, here's why we need a DEI policy. Every voice is unique and different, even if it's not something we can see from the outside.
And we ended up thinking that our bank needed to have some affinity groups to kind of help people feel more comfortable, to show that we represented them in different aspects. So I have one more quick quiz because I want to try to give a gift.
Oh, that's right.
I want to give a gift. I want to give a gift away. How many consecutive years has ECU received a Higher Education Excellence in Diversity Award? It's a trick question. We're going to see if you guys know it, because you guys are pirates. Y'all should know this. Y'all should know this. If I know this, y'all should know this. Look at her face. She's like, okay. We're going to see who's going to get it. We're going to see who gets it. Did they get it? It's 11. That's a question. Okay.
All right, who's our big winner?
Okay, so where'd you go? It's coming. Okay.
Grayson!
No, Grayson's 3.
Oh.
2.
Oh, cool. Okay, so who's this? 1 or 3?
Uh-oh. Spotlight.
Katie!